Here's what's making news now around Indiana, brought to you by your Indiana Pacers. Well, the first 2018 Subaru Ascent rolled off the assembly line this week at Subaru of Indiana Automotive in Lafayette. The new production sparked a $140 million investment at that plant, along with plans to create up to 200 jobs. Iowa-based Winnebago Industries has broken ground on a more than $12 million expansion project in Middlebury. The company adding 200,000 square feet of space at its Winnebago Towables campus, with plans to add up to 125 jobs this year. And Purdue University expecting an incoming freshman class of 8,300, which would be the largest in school history. The university says the record total largely fueled by an increase in out-of-state students. And Ruth's Chris Steakhouse has cut the ribbon on its new location in downtown Fort Wayne. The $6 million restaurant, part of the $40 million Skyline Tower project in the city's emerging downtown business district. Well, the state's Advanced Manufacturing and Logistics Initiative has a new leader. Former Angie's List Chief Operating Officer Mark Howell began his new role at the beginning of the year and is here now to talk about his vision, including how these two important industries can be at the forefront of emerging technologies in Indiana. Mark, welcome to the program.
Yeah, thank you for having me, and thank you for shining a spotlight on Conexus.
Well, and Conexus, as mentioned, advanced manufacturing and logistics, two extremely important industries for the state of Indiana. But first about you, I mentioned your role at Angie's List. Prior to that, Brightpoint, Odessa, you've got a big corporate background. Why take on this new role as CEO of Conexus?
Yeah, well, for me, I have been benefiting from the work of others in my 25-year career. And because it was a kind of a natural inflection point, I think this was a chance for me to maybe move to the other side of the desk and begin giving back in a way that I've been receiving from.
Well, Conexus really is an initiative focused on these two important sectors, advanced manufacturing, distribution, and logistics. As you look at the opportunities, I mean, you could probably talk for an hour, but kind of zero in on where you see greatest opportunities for Indiana in those two sectors.
Yeah, I think in many ways, advanced manufacturing and logistics in Indiana is one of our best kept secrets. If you think about those industries, account for more than 20% of our workforce and more than 30% of our GDP. So they're certainly worthy of our attention. Maybe three big areas that we're focused on. The first would be workforce, and around workforce, very interested in economic mobility and giving people the opportunity to move from lower paying jobs into jobs that provide career pathways. We want to build the brand of advanced manufacturing, help people understand its impact and understand the opportunities that it creates. And we're also focused on how we're going to leverage technologies to maintain our competitiveness, our operating efficiencies, and sustainable growth in the current workforce environment.
Yeah, you mentioned workforce. Is talent, in your view, the biggest challenge, the biggest risk going forward?
Well, it's certainly the issue that's getting the most attention right now. And although that's a big challenge, I think it's also creating opportunities, because we're seeing a level of innovation in terms of training programs, work-based learning, and interactions between industry and education that we haven't seen historically, that's being driven out by that. I also think it's leading to greater innovation on the technology side, because in order to maintain the level of productivity and growth and quality necessary, it's going to take investments in technology to, in many ways, supplement what's happening on the workforce side.
Yeah, so, and you think, as we were talking off camera, that these emerging technologies, artificial intelligence and the Internet of Things and the new IoT lab up in Fishers can play a role.
Absolutely, and it's not just the technologies that are being created, but it's also how those technologies are being used in the actual manufacturing process. One of the things that I've gained a much greater appreciation on as we move into areas of electrification, connected vehicles, and autonomy. The gating issue for those in many ways is cybersecurity, and that's kind of not necessarily intuitive, but there's ancillary technology implications that we've got to stay on top of.
All right, Mark Howell is the new CEO at Conexus Indiana. Mark, thanks for sharing perspective. I know we'll have you on many times in the future. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
All right.